They were just a small group of explorers, sent to the edge of known space. Their mission was simple: to map new stars and planets. Captain Maya stood at the control room, watching the endless black stretch of space through the ship's large window. The silence was almost complete. Only the hum of the ship's engines and the quiet chatter of the crew filled the air. The crew was excited, but careful. They had explored many new worlds before, but this area of space was strange. Sensors picked up faint signals that no one could understand. For days, the explorers moved slowly, scanning the empty darkness, looking for anything new. Then, one evening, the lead scanner, a young technician named Liam, called out from his station. "Captain, you need to see this," he said, his voice shaking with surprise. Maya moved quickly to his console. The screen showed a massive object, so large it covered the entire radar. It wasn't a planet, but it looked like one. At first, Maya thought it might be a new star or a gas giant. But the shape was different, too smooth, too perfect. "What is it?" one of the crew asked quietly. "We don't know yet," Maya replied, her eyes fixed on the screen. The object moved slowly, almost like it was alive. It was hard to believe, but it looked like a ship. A starship bigger than any they had ever seen before. Bigger than some planets. The crew felt a mix of fear and excitement. They were not prepared for this. This discovery could change everything they knew about space. Maya ordered the ship to move closer carefully. As they approached, the massive shape became clearer. It had bright lights glowing softly on its surface, and strange patterns that looked like cities. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up a signal coming from inside the starship. It was a strange, pulsing rhythm. It was not like anything they had heard before. "Is someone there?" Liam asked nervously. "We need to send a message," Maya said. "Maybe they can hear us." The team prepared the communication system. They sent out simple greetings in many languages, hoping for a reply. But no answer came. Hours passed, and the crew grew restless. The giant starship seemed to watch them silently. The tension on board was heavy. Late that night, a soft vibration shook their ship. The explorers looked around confused. "It's coming from the starship," Liam said. Suddenly, lights on the giant ship flashed. Patterns moved quickly across its surface. It was a message, but no one could read it. Maya knew this was just the beginning. Something was alive inside that giant starship. Something waiting. The explorers had found something no one had ever seen before. Their simple mission had turned into a mystery that could change humanity forever. The giant starship hung silently in space, a vast mystery waiting to be uncovered. Inside the smaller explorer ship, Captain Maya and her crew worked quickly to prepare a probe. This probe would go inside the starship to learn what secrets it held. The entire team knew this was risky, but curiosity pushed them forward. Liam, the young technician, was in charge of launching the probe. His hands shook slightly as he activated the controls. The probe separated from their ship and slowly drifted toward the enormous starship. Its cameras and sensors were powerful enough to see inside. The screen in the control room showed an incredible sight. The inside of the starship looked like a city, tall buildings made of strange glowing materials. No sound came from it, but strange lights blinked everywhere. The shapes were not like anything the explorers had ever seen. Suddenly, the probe picked up signals, not random signals, where these were deliberate, patterned. It was as if someone or something was trying to communicate. The crew held their breath. "Send a message back," Maya ordered. "Tell them we mean no harm." The probe began sending simple signals, coded in math and basic patterns, languages meant to be understood by any intelligent life. The crew waited anxiously for a response. Minutes passed with no reply. Then, a new message appeared on the probe's screen. It was strange symbols different from any language they knew. Liam tried to decode it, but it was difficult. "It looks like a code. Maybe a warning?" Liam said carefully. "Or an invitation," Maya said quietly. "We can't be sure." As the probe moved deeper, the city inside the starship revealed more secrets. There were wide streets, parks filled with strange plants, and large machines that hummed softly. It seemed like a living place, but empty. Suddenly, the probe's cameras caught something moving. Shadows flickered between the buildings. The crew leaned closer, hearts pounding. "Are there people inside?" asked one of the crew members. "Maybe," Maya said. "Or something else." The probe sent back more images, showing halls and rooms decorated with symbols of stars and planets. It told a story of a civilization that once lived. Here, a great civilization that built this starship as a home and protector. Then the probe signal went weak. The screen flickered and static filled the room. The crew exchanged worried looks. "Something is interfering with the signal," Liam said. Maya stared at the screen. This was more than just a starship. It was a giant archive, a place filled with history and knowledge, but also secrets that could be dangerous. The probe suddenly stopped sending data. The screen went black. "Lost contact," Liam said, his voice tense. Maya clenched her fists. "We can't just leave it. We need to find out what happened to the people who built this starship. We need to know what is inside." The crew agreed, though fear grew stronger. They were no longer just explorers. They were searching for answers to a mystery older than humanity itself. Outside, the giant starship stayed still, its lights pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. It was waiting, watching, as if it knew the explorers had arrived. Maya looked at her team and nodded. "We'll prepare a manned mission. It's time to go inside." The adventure had only just begun. They had lost contact with the probe, but the mystery inside the giant starship pulled at their curiosity too much to stop now. Captain Maya stood before her crew, her voice steady but filled with determination. "We need to prepare for an inside mission. We have to find out what happened, and if anyone or anything is still inside." The crew worked non-stop to ready their smaller shuttle for the journey into the starship's interior. Every detail was checked twice. Liam and the science team studied the data collected by the probe, searching for any clues that could help them navigate the enormous structure. What they saw was beyond anything humanity had ever imagined. Vast halls stretching as far as their sensors could reach, glowing walls with strange symbols, and silent streets that looked abandoned for centuries. As they entered the shuttle, the air was thick with a mixture of excitement and unease. The hatch closed behind them and the small ship began its slow descent toward the starship's entrance. The massive doors opened with a quiet hum, revealing an inner world bathed in soft bluish light. Inside, the air was still, but their instruments detected faint traces of energy, life signs, or perhaps just echoes from the past. The shuttle moved carefully along what looked like a wide street, lined with structures resembling buildings, gardens, and what might have been places of work or rest. Liam pointed to the walls, where ancient symbols shimmered faintly. "These might be a language, or a record of their history," he said. "We need to try to understand it." Maya nodded. "Every step we take, we're walking through the story of an ancient civilization." As they explored, strange things began to happen. The lights flickered, shadows moved just beyond their vision, and soft mechanical sounds echoed through the corridors. It was clear the starship was not entirely lifeless. Suddenly, their comm system crackled. A voice, faint but clear, spoke in a language none of them understood. They repeated their message of peace, hoping for a response. Moments later, symbols appeared on their screen. A new message, this time easier to read. It told a story of a civilization that had built this starship to travel the stars, seeking knowledge and safety. But something had gone wrong. Mysterious event forced them to leave, or perhaps they disappeared in some unknown way. The starship was now a silent guardian of their memory. As the crew delved deeper, they discovered rooms filled with technology far beyond human understanding. Machines that could create energy from nothing, walls that changed color and shape, and devices that seemed alive. Maya realized humanity had found not just a starship but a treasure of knowledge. But the deeper they went, the more dangers they faced. Some parts of the starship were locked or protected by strange systems. As they tried to access one such area, A sudden warning flashed across their instruments. The starship was activating defenses, but not violent ones. Instead, it was trying to protect itself, its secrets, and perhaps its creators. Maya ordered caution. They moved carefully, solving puzzles and bypassing systems designed to keep intruders out. Each step brought new wonders and new mysteries. The feeling of being watched grew stronger. In one chamber they found a large glowing sphere. Inside it, faint images flickered, memories or messages from the past. The crew watched, amazed, as they saw the rise and fall of a civilization, their hopes, their struggles, and their ultimate fate. Suddenly, the starship seemed to react. The sphere pulsed with light, and the walls around them shifted, opening a new passage. It was as if the starship was inviting them deeper, trusting them or perhaps testing them. The crew felt a mix of awe and fear. They had come searching for answers and found much more. The starship was not just a relic. It was alive in its own way, a keeper of secrets that could change the future of humanity. Maya looked at her team and spoke softly. "We must continue. This is only the beginning of what we will discover." Outside, the vast starship floated silently, a giant in the darkness, waiting for the next step in the story to unfold. The quiet stillness inside the giant starship began to shift. Captain Maya and her team had been exploring the endless corridors and chambers filled with strange technology and memories of a lost civilization. But now, something was changing. A soft hum grew louder around them, and the air felt heavier. As if the starship itself was awakening, they had entered a vast hall, bigger than anything they had seen so far. The walls were covered with glowing symbols, moving slowly in patterns like a living language. The floor beneath their feet seemed to pulse, sending gentle vibrations through the shuttle. Liam stared at the readings on his device, trying to make sense of the starship's activity. "Captain, I'm detecting energy signatures rising everywhere," he said quietly. "It's like the starship is powering up." Maya's eyes narrowed. Powering up for what? Before anyone could answer, the soft hum grew into a deep resonance that filled the entire chamber. Lights flickered on the walls, revealing strange structures. Tall spires made of crystal-like material, floating orbs of light and machines that seemed to breathe with a gentle rhythm. Suddenly, a beam of light shot from one of the spires and hovered in front of the shuttle. The light shifted and changed shape, forming what looked like a holographic figure. It was unlike any being they had ever seen. Tall, slender, with smooth skin that shimmered like liquid metal. The figure did not speak, but its presence was calm and powerful. Maya stepped forward cautiously. "We come in peace," she said. "We want to learn about your starship and your people." The figure responded, but not in words. Images flashed through their minds, memories of a civilization that had once traveled the stars in peace and curiosity. They built this starship as a sanctuary, a home that could protect knowledge and life across the galaxy. The hologram showed scenes of great beauty, vast gardens floating in zero gravity, cities lit by stars, and beings who worked together, in harmony. But then the images grew darker. A great threat approached their home, forcing them to leave. The starship was left behind, a guardian to keep their legacy safe. Maya felt a chill run through her. The starship was not abandoned. It was waiting for someone worthy, someone who could understand and protect its secrets. As the hologram faded, the chamber walls began to shift. New passages opened, leading deeper into the heart of the starship. The crew looked at each other, excitement and nervousness mixing in their eyes. Suddenly, alarm sounded softly. It was not a warning, but a gentle signal. The starship was activating its defenses, but not to harm. Instead, barriers of light formed around certain areas, protecting delicate machines and information. Liam studied the barriers. "They're not trying to keep us out. They're keeping something safe." Maya nodded. "We must be careful. Every step we take matters." The team moved forward slowly, guided by the hologram's images and the starship's gentle signals. They passed through rooms filled with knowledge, libraries of light where information floated like stars in the air. They saw tools and machines that could heal, build, and explore worlds beyond their imagining. But the deeper they went, the more the starship seemed alive. Doors opened and closed as if welcoming them, pathways shifted like a maze, and soft whispers filled the air. Not words, but feelings of hope, fear, and courage. Maya realized they were not just explorers anymore. They were part of a story much bigger than themselves. A story of life, loss, and the search for meaning in the vast universe. At the far end of the hall, they found a chamber unlike any other. In its center stood a large orb, glowing with soft light. It pulsed gently, as if breathing. Maya reached out, feeling a connection to the starship and its ancient creators. The orb projected a vision, a future where humanity and this ancient civilization could join forces, sharing knowledge and hope. But the vision also warned of challenges ahead. The starship held power, but with it came great responsibility. As the vision faded, the starship's hum softened. The barriers of light retracted, and the pathways settled. It was as if the starship was trusting them now. Maya looked at her crew. "We have found more than we expected. This is not just a starship, it is a guardian of hope." Outside, the massive starship continued to float in the darkness of space, its lights glowing softly, waiting for what would come next. The crew had stepped into a new world, one built from ancient dreams and quiet wisdom. The starship's heart was alive, and the glowing orb they found in the last chamber had opened a path not only in space but through time and memory. Captain Maya felt the weight of this discovery settle in her mind. The story they were unraveling was far greater than a simple exploration mission. It was a journey into the soul of a civilization lost but never forgotten. The orb's light flickered gently as if sensing her thoughts. Around them, the chamber hummed with energy, and soft voices whispered through the air, echoes of the starship's past. The crew stood still, listening. The whispers were not words but feelings, hope, sorrow, curiosity, and strength. Maya took a deep breath. "We have to understand their story completely," she said. "We owe it to them, and to ourselves." The team moved carefully toward the new passage revealed by the orb. This corridor was different. The walls were transparent, showing vast networks of light and energy flowing through the starship like veins. The air here felt alive, filled with possibility. Liam studied the energy streams with fascination. "It's like the starship is a living organism," he said. "Every part connected and working together." As they walked, the starship seemed to respond. The energy shifted gently around them, guiding their way. It was not a machine, but a being, a protector and teacher. The passage led to a vast chamber filled with floating platforms. Each platform held a different scene, moments from the civilization's history captured like holograms. The crew watched as images danced in the air, people building great cities, children playing in zero-gravity gardens, and explorers setting out on journeys across the stars. One image showed a council of wise beings gathered around a glowing table discussing the future. Their faces were calm but serious. They knew the challenges ahead and had made plans to protect their legacy. Maya felt tears in her eyes. They were just like us, and curious, brave, and hopeful. Suddenly, one of the platforms changed. The scene shifted to a warning, a dark shadow creeping over their worlds, threatening everything they had built. The people looked fearful but determined. Liam's voice was soft. This must be the threat that forced them to leave. Maya nodded. But what was it? And what happened to them? As if in answer, the starship pulsed with energy, and the platforms changed again. This time, they showed a great journey. The starship leaving its homeworlds, carrying the last hopes of a civilization. They traveled through unknown space, searching for safety and new beginnings. But then, the images became unclear, fading like memories lost to time. The starship had become a silent guardian, waiting for someone to find its story and carry it forward. The crew looked at each other, understanding the weight of their mission. They were not just explorers, they were now keepers of an ancient promise. Maya stepped forward to a console at the chamber's center. She placed her hand on a glowing panel, and the starship responded. Data flowed into their ship, filling their minds with knowledge, science, art, history, and technology beyond their dreams. The knowledge was overwhelming, but beautiful. It promised new ways to live, new ways to explore, and new ways to protect life across the stars. But with this gift came a question: how would humanity use it? Would they be ready to face the challenges ahead? As the crew prepared to leave the chamber, a gentle vibration filled the air. The starship was alive, and it was watching. It had chosen them to be its new guardians. Maya looked back one last time. We will protect your legacy. We will learn from your wisdom. The starship's lights dimmed softly and the energy flowed back into the walls. The path ahead was still uncertain, but the crew knew one thing: they had found a new purpose. Outside, the giant starship floated peacefully, a beacon of hope in the vast darkness of space, waiting for the next chapter of its story to unfold. The vast starship, suspended silently in the endless blackness of space, seemed to breathe around them, a living monument to a forgotten time and an ancient hope. Captain Maya stood at the threshold of the final chamber they were allowed to explore, the weight of the mission settling like a quiet storm in her mind. Every step they had taken, every discovery they had made, had brought them here. Now they faced the truth of the starship's final secret. The chamber was enormous. Walls and ceilings stretched far beyond what their eyes could see. At the center, a crystalline core pulsed with a soft, steady light. It was the heart of the starship, the source of its power and memory. The core shimmered as if alive, sending waves of energy that hummed through the floor and walls. Maya felt a strange connection to it, as if it called to her personally, whispering promises and warnings at the same time. The crew gathered cautiously, feeling the magnitude of the moment. Liam's instruments went wild, recording data faster than they could process. Suddenly, the light from the core expanded, filling the chamber with warm radiance. Then images began to appear, not around them but inside their minds. Visions of the past, present, and future intertwined. They saw the birth of the starship's creators, a peaceful civilization born from the stars, full of wisdom and kindness. These beings had dedicated their lives to understanding the universe and protecting its beauty. They had built the starship as a sanctuary, a library, and a vessel of hope, traveling across galaxies to share knowledge and life. But the visions darkened. A cosmic event, vast and unknowable, forced them to leave their home worlds behind. It threatened to erase all they had built. The starship was their last refuge, carrying their history and dreams into the unknown. Maya felt the sadness in those memories, but also the strength, the courage to survive and preserve what mattered most. Then, a new vision appeared, a glimpse of humanity's future. The starship showed them possibilities, a path of discovery, growth, and unity with the stars. It was a challenge and an invitation. The core pulsed rhythmically, as if waiting for a choice. Maya stepped forward, her voice steady but filled with hope. We accept your gift. We will carry your legacy forward, protect it, and learn from it. The chamber responded. The energy around them brightened, and the starship seemed to embrace them. Walls shifted, revealing maps, technologies, and wisdom that would change humanity's future forever. The crew worked tirelessly to record everything. The starship's knowledge was beyond anything they had dreamed: methods to heal planets, to travel faster than light, and to live in harmony with the universe. As they prepared to leave, Maya turned back to the core one last time. Thank you for trusting us. We will not fail. The starship hummed softly, its light dimming but never fading. It had chosen new guardians, and its story would live on in the hearts and minds of those who dared to explore the unknown. Outside, the giant starship floated peacefully, a beacon in the dark waiting for humanity to rise and meet its destiny among the stars.